Good introduction for you. All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Transformers, G.I. Joes, and Thundercats. We was loving that before the start of Jackie Jacks. But no tornadoes had folks scared to come. That was the absolute worst butchering of my name ever. And I've been alive a long time.
That's saying something right there.
That's saying something. 48 years old. I remember in class when they were taking attendance, they're like, Stephen Marchi? Here. Tom Makowski? Here. Rick? Here. They couldn't get through my name. Thanks, Tom. Let's hear it for Tom. What a great MC.
Good job, Tom.
All right, Paul. So Paul was born, when were you born? 1966? So 1966 is actually a really meaningful year for all of us. Really meaningful for many of us. Because my parents got married in 1966, and they immigrated to the United States of America in 1966. So if you, I know if you paid attention to a lot of the, sort of like what's going on in the press, there's a lot of talk about immigration. And I will say that I'm an immigrant. I'm a proud immigrant to this country. I didn't come over here because I was born in 1968, but my parents came over here and they started a life for us. So I think, I can never figure this out, but I think we're second generation immigrants is what it means. And I know, Amber, I think you're a second generation immigrant also. So, but Paul and I and Paco and Madhu, we've known each other since college. Since like 1986, if you will, like 20 years later, or 18 years after I was born, is when I got to know Paul. So we had a long time together to really get to know each other, all the good stuff, and all the really embarrassing stuff, the stuff that we don't want on Facebook, including today's routine we don't want on Facebook. Many of us have jobs that we could be removed from should this leak out. We'll just ask a bit of discretion among all of us.
Particularly your wife.
Yeah, especially my wife.
And your social media children.
Yeah, that's right. We're not here very intentionally. So what does it mean to be a second generation immigrant? I thought I'd talk a little bit about that since it coincided with the beginning of Paul's life. Well, being a second generation immigrant is actually a little tricky. We used to call ourselves the Oreo cookie generation. Brown on the outside, white on the inside. The coconut generation, brown on the outside, white on the inside. There's all sorts of analogies for that. But we're brown, but we really are American. And I'll never forget, one day I was telling people this story the other day. One day I'm kind of a victim of our stereotype. If you think about Indian people, and you're like, well, what professions do Indian immigrants go into? What would you say? First thing? Doctor. What's the second thing? Computer. Engineer, right?
Yeah.
So I refused to really get into those stereotypes. I became a computer engineer that went on to medical school.
That showed him.
That's right. You don't have to be just one. I'm an overachiever. So
That's not a stereotype either.
that's not a stereotype at all. That's right. So what does it mean if you're a coconut, Oreo cookie, second generation immigrant that's a computer engineer that goes on to medical school?
At Harvard, no less.
Whatever. That little school out east. What it means is the best part of being a second generation immigrant is you can be a racist. And it's condoned. Because we can make fun of our parents about stereotypes that nobody else can. And that's what we did growing up. We made fun of our parents' accents. We made fun of their stereotypes. We made fun of, them coming, obviously we really admire them for taking the risk and moving 10,000 miles away to start a new life for themselves. My dad walked off the boat. He actually came over on a boat, Ellis Island, had $20 in his pocket. Now that's a great story. The problem is that he started with $100 when he left Bombay. His parents, $100, took a year to save for it. So his parents gave him $100, got on the boat in Bombay, said, make a life for yourself. He goes all the way to Columbia University and ends up with $20. Why is that? Because he's a very wise man. On the boat, there's a guy who's playing an accordion. And he's like, that looks like something I should buy. So he spends $50 of his parents' hard-earned money that they've been saving for a year and just buys an accordion because he thinks that's going to make his way in the new world.
Wow.
And then, so he's still got $50, right? So that's great. So, he's like, I still got $50. I just need to get a taxi to get to the dorm, and then I can cash in my scholarship. Problem is, he carries that $50 with him, and he goes into Rome when the boat docks, and he gets pickpocketed for 30 of it.
Oh my God.
So now he's got $20 left. So then he arrives in Ellis Island, and then he gets into New York City. He's got is $20. So he's not the sharpest tack in the bunch. But he does find a way to carve a life for himself and carve a life for all of us so that we can, really sort of make a way for ourselves and do the things that we need to do. But what it allows us to do is make fun of him and my mom and all of our parents growing up. We get to be closet racists.